We think of history in terms of a few hundred years, maybe a couple of thousand if we're really stretching it. But what if I told you that's not even the blink of an eye in our planet's story? Today, we're going to go on an incredible journey, not across space, but through deep time, to really wrap our heads around the immense history of our world.
Before we jump in our time machine, I just want you to look at this number, 0.0001%. That tiny fraction, that's the slice of Earth's history that contains all of us. Every human who has ever lived, every kingdom, every discovery, every song. All of it. Just let that sink in for a second. Our entire existence fits into a nearly invisible sliver of time.
So, this is our map for the journey, the geological timescale. Now, to really feel the massive scale of it, we're not going to start at the beginning. No, we're going to do this backwards. We're starting from the one point we all know, right now, today. And we're going to peel back the layers of time, one by one.
All right, let's start in our own backyard, with our little slice of history. If you imagine all of Earth's history as a 24-hour day, this part is basically the last few seconds before midnight. It's our fleeting moment.
So right now, we're living in what's called the Quaternary period. It kicks off about 2 million years ago, or MA for short, with the Pleistocene. That's when our species, Homo sapiens, finally shows up on the scene. But it's only in the last 10,000 years, in the Holocene, that civilization as we know it really gets going.
The Ice Ages, woolly mammoths, the rise of ancient cities, all of that is crammed into our tiny little period. But this period, it's just the final chapter of a much bigger story. So let's zoom out a bit to the Cenozoic era, which started 65 million years ago. It's better known as the Age of Mammals.
The Age of Mammals. This is where our story really starts to take shape. But it only began because something huge, something planet-altering, cleared the stage and allowed a whole new cast of characters to step into the spotlight.
And you can really see how it all played out. Right after the dinosaurs disappeared, mammals were mostly small, kind of like rats and mice. But then, over tens of millions of years, they started diversifying. You get rabbits and hares, then the first apes, and finally the very first of our own human ancestors.
But why? Why did mammals suddenly get this incredible chance to shine? Why was the world suddenly wide open for them to take over? Well, to understand that, we have to travel back even further, to a time of giants.
Okay, we are now entering the Mesozoic era. For a massive stretch of time, our planet was ruled by a completely different class of animals. And frankly, they were a whole lot bigger than us.
So picture this. It's the very end of this era, right at the close of the Cretaceous period. Something absolutely dramatic is about to happen. Something that is going to change the course of life on Earth forever.
A massive extinction event. The leading theory, of course, is a catastrophic asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs and something like 3/4 of every species on the entire planet.
This event is one of the sharpest, clearest dividing lines in our planet's biological history. Before the impact, the world was completely dominated by giant reptiles. After the dust settled, the survivors, mostly these small, adaptable mammals, they crawled out of the shadows into a world of incredible new opportunity. And that's what kicked off the Age of Mammals we just came from.
And make no mistake, the dinosaurs' reign was incredibly long. We're talking more than 180 million years, all the way through the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous periods. They were the undisputed masters of the Earth. In fact, the very first mammals actually appeared during their time, but for millions and millions of years, they had to survive in the shadows of these giants.
It's a great question, isn't it? It's kind of hard to imagine a world before them. But let's keep pushing further back, before the Triassic even began, to an era when life was making some of its boldest and most ambitious moves yet.
Welcome to the Paleozoic era. If the Mesozoic was the age of giant reptiles, this was the age of bizarre sea creatures, the planet's very first forests, and giant insects. Seriously, this is when life truly exploded in diversity, taking its first courageous steps out of the water and onto solid land. You can see how life took this journey step by step. For millions of years, the oceans were just teeming with invertebrates. Then, the first fish evolved. But the real game changer was when plants started to colonize the land. That created a brand new world for the first amphibians and then reptiles to crawl out of the water, which eventually led to a planet dominated by land animals.
So where did all this amazing diversity come from? Well, it started at the very beginning of the Paleozoic, in a kind of biological Big Bang known as the Cambrian explosion. In what was a geological blink of an eye, the oceans went from being relatively simple to suddenly bursting with a spectacular array of complex animal life.
Okay, now we are taking our biggest leap back yet, and I mean a vast, almost incomprehensible jump into an expanse of time called the Precambrian. Get this single period makes up almost 90% of Earth's entire history.
The time scale here is just staggering. We are talking billions of years. It took 1 billion years just for oceans and continents to form. Another billion years went by before the first simple bacteria showed up. And then, for another billion-plus years, these tiny little organisms invented photosynthesis, and in doing so, they slowly pumped oxygen into the atmosphere, completely terraforming our planet.
So the Precambrian wasn't an era of dramatic, flashy animal life. It was the era of slow, quiet, foundational work. You can think of it as the planet's long, dark dawn, where the fundamental chemistry and the basic conditions for everything that came later were painstakingly put into place by the simplest forms of life imaginable.
For our final step, our journey has to take us beyond our planet, beyond even its formation, all the way back to the very beginning of everything we know.
About 5 billion years ago, there was this massive cloud of gas and dust, just the leftovers of a long-dead star. It started to collapse under its own gravity. At the very center of it all, our sun ignited, and from all that swirling debris, our solar system and our planet started to form.
And here, this is where our journey back in time has to end. 13.7 billion years ago, the Big Bang, the very beginning of time, of space, and of all the matter that would one day clump together into stars, form planets, and eventually become us.
So from the very first singularity of the Big Bang to this very moment that you're listening to this, we are all part of an unimaginably long and complex story. And it leaves us with the ultimate question. After 13.7 billion years of cosmic history to get us here, what is the chapter that we are all writing right now?